From the bottom, hey, got to be up in your face, putting groupers in the chase, putting work to paper bays. On the up and I'm on the road, you can eat and you cutting cold. I've been driving no cruise control.
Happy New Year! Welcome to a new edition of 3 Count Commentaries. I am MagMongoSlade. Today we're going to be discussing AEW Dynamite from January the 1st, 2024. A really not good episode of Dynamite. Actually quite terrible. This is supposed to be a huge show because they're starting on Max. Turns out they're starting on Men. And maybe it's on purpose. Maybe they're trying to lull us into a false sense of security. Maybe it's a work. Like when the Young Bucks... Oh, we're going to talk about that in a second. But anyway, hopefully you guys had a great, wonderful, and safe New Year. But what was not safe was watching this show. You was going to absolutely go into a coma less than 20 minutes into this show. But we're going to get into all of this. But let's talk about the Young Bucks. Because they're doing podcasts saying absolutely ridiculous things. And, well, they said that they were having boring matches on purpose in 2024. That's what they said. They were on a Tunnel Talk podcast. This is via No DQ. The Young Bucks says, when we did the EVPs things, we were like, let's just have really boring matches. Let's stop doing all the super athletic moves that get the big reactions. It is hard because one of the things in general is that most of our stuff is pretty exciting. It's high spots. We did it. And then Nicholas says, I stopped doing dives for maybe 8 months. I didn't do a tumble to the floor for about 8 months. And that was on purpose. We literally wanted people to think, are these guys not athletic anymore? Or are they just boring wrestlers now? I stay off social media, but one thing that really pissed me off was someone said, I thought the Young Bucks were washed. And I was thinking, oh, come on. You guys fell for the gimmick. This is painful. You guys fell for the gimmick that we were doing? We didn't forget how to wrestle out of nowhere. Come on. Don't be dumb. Are you serious? They go out here and tell people we were having boring matches. On purpose, they were having worse matches than ever. And here's the thing. Nobody noticed. Nobody knows what these guys are talking about. I didn't do a dive for 8 months. I couldn't tell. I could not tell. Could you tell? Because for starters, they weren't wrestling that often. Secondly, I don't watch you matches for dives. Third, I don't really watch Young Bucks matches anymore anyway. But here's the thing. I forget whether it's ESPN or Sports Illustrated or whoever, decided these guys were the best tag team of 2024, and they come out and say, oh yeah, we were having boring matches on purpose. The same year, they got voted into the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame. They were like, we were having boring matches on purpose just to pop ourselves. Because nobody else noticed. This wasn't something people were talking about online, like what happened to the Young Bucks matches. No, people were talking about how the folks changed the channel when the Young Bucks come on, which has been happening for years. So it's not like you just change your wrestling style. Now all of a sudden people are changing the channel. No, it's been that way. Nobody noticed, so this has not been a talking point. Nobody noticed that you changed anything. You just suck and people blot you out. That's all. And if you wouldn't have said anything, nobody would have thought about it. This is trash. This is trash talking. This is garbage. They need to be smited. All right? I hope they never come back. They're coming back. I hope they never come back. I hope they don't come back. Ever. But from that same podcast, and Sean Ross Sapp decided to tweet this out, so I'm going to give him credit for listening to this garbage-ass podcast. He said that the Young Bucks wanted to lose the tag team titles in a squash match to the Outrunners at one point. Now, how does that benefit Private Party, who are the champions right now, to know that you weren't even you were the second choice and banished to Collision, by the way, because now there's no more Rampage to banish you to. Your new domain is Collision, and That's where you're the champions of. Again, same thing that happened to the Lucha Brothers. But now we found out why. Because they weren't the first option. But why, back up a little bit. So not only did you slap Private Party in the face, but now the Outrunners knew that they had a chance to win the titles and they didn't get them. They got to be looking like, what the hell happened? Why not? Whether it was a squash or not, why not? They were one of the most over tag teams in your company. Why wouldn't you strike while the iron was hot? Now the Outrunners are nothing. Oh, we want to give Private Party all this credit for all the hard work they did. They were jabronis. At least people... Now, the Outrunners might have been jabronis too. But they were Collision jabronis. Nobody really was watching. Nobody watches Collision. Alright, so nobody cares if they were doing a bunch of jobs on Collision. The fact of the matter is, when they came out, the crowd popped. People thought they were funny. We should have rolled with it. It's not like there was something substantial being done with these tag team titles that we could not do that. These people are a mess. Okay? They have done nothing, but every time they open their mouths, they make the company look worse. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I've never seen people talk and shoot interviews and make their company look so much worse. At least not on purpose. Usually people, when they do that stuff, they do it on purpose. These guys probably don't think that they're doing this stuff on purpose. They probably don't even think their company look bad. But you are. You're making your company look really bad. It's looking like it's the shits. Speaking of the shits, new Dynamite, new look, new introduction. We got the Pointer Sisters. I'm so excited as the theme song for AEW Dynamite. Now, look at here, man. Tony Khan likes to spend money. Okay? If you're going to spend money on a song, for starters, get a song substantially less gay than the Pointer Sisters. That's point number one. It's too gay. Second, if you're going to get a song, you're going to pay for it. Get a song that fits professional wrestling. This fits Walmart commercials, Target commercials. This does not fit professional wrestling. This is what you might see in one of those ads for glaucoma pills or some shit. You might see this in a big pharma commercial. I'm so excited. It does not fit the tone of professional wrestling. Can somebody please sit Tony Khan down and explain to him that this does not fit? This and Elton John does not fit the vibe for pro wrestling. Now, your wrestling show might be gay bar-coded. That might be what you want. But 99% of people not interested in that, okay? If you're going to spend some money on some music, get some music that fits the tone of your show. Please. AEW is supposed to be high-octane, action-filled, aggressive. So it says, hardcore rap, rock music, that sort of thing. Not Elton John and the Pointer Sisters. This guy is super lame. Tony Khan is so goddamn lame. Alright? I don't get it. He is older than me. I'm 40. Tony Khan has got to be like 41 or 42. He has to know better than this. Right? What wrestling show has ever started with something like the Pointer Sisters? Now, a couple of days ago, I'll veer off into this because nobody cares about this shit, right? I was listening to a lot of the WrestleMania theme songs. I was bombarded with The Weeknd. I probably heard more Weeknd than ever before because of WWE 8 years in a row or whatever having The Weeknd. But there was a song, WrestleMania 22, Big Time by Peter Gabriel. That fits. It's an old song, but it fit the vibe of WrestleMania. It also fit the WrestleMania theme because it was called Big Time. WrestleMania 22, Big Time. And the song fit. It was perfect. If you're going to do something like that, I don't mind you using an old song. Like, WWE used Obsession for Saturday Night's Main Event because that's what it was back in the 80s. You can find some cool old songs and use those. You don't have to get... Why the Pointer Sisters? Whose idea was that? Whose auntie came into this goddamn production meeting and said, you know what? We need to have the Pointers. And at this point, it's not even auntie, it's great aunt. Because that's something my mama would listen to. That's something my mama would hear and think, oh, I'm so excited. And she'd even be like, it don't fit a wrestling show. It don't. You wouldn't even hear that at a barbecue. I'm not gonna lie. You hear it in commercials. That's what that song is for now. It's for gay bars and commercials. I don't know what this was supposed to be. Is this a gay bar or is this a commercial? Then Hangman Page came out, so gay bar. That's what we got. Hangman Page defeats Orange Cassidy. You a fool if you watched this match. I know I didn't. Orange Cassidy got beat up after the match too. I thought Hangman was turning face. Wrong. He's very angry. Still. He beat up Orange Cassidy after the match and then punched out Christopher Daniels. So there's that for everybody who thought Hangman Page was going to be a babyface going into this thing. And I say it over and over again. The AEW fans really, really like Hangman. They're down for it. If you decide to just hotshot Hangman versus Moxley, they will shut up and just ride with it. But this wishy-washy, is he a face, is he a heel, going back and forth, I'm not sure that's working. I'm not sure that's going to do you any good. I get it. Moxley's not ready to drop the belt yet. Whoever is making these decisions is not forcing the issue. So we're going to do this. But somebody got to get in the mix that matters. Swerve, Darby, MJF, somebody. Because what he's doing, what Moxley is doing is killing everything. He's killing the crowd. He's murdering the crowd every week. Which is crazy. Because if your main eventers can't get over, then the rest of the show is not likely to be over either. This is a benefit show, by the way. This is a charity show. Proceeds for this show, Fight for the Fallen, is supposed to go to charity. So you should want to put together a pretty good show so that you could generate money for the people of Asheville, North Carolina, and you put on a shit show. Meanwhile, Moxley is cutting promos, he's sniffing, he's snorting, he's doing a bunch of other stuff. He's talking about people being different than what they talk about. Under pressure, they change. They fold under pressure. Said that he dragged this company through a pandemic. And he will destroy the championship belt before he lets anyone else have it. And it said that there are no bosses. Nobody has any authority over him. He's a king. And Cope. We're going to talk about that in a second. Oh my God, we're going to talk about that. Cope was just the loudest guy in the ring. Then Moxley, basically, that was it for him. FTR and Edge said they're going to fight. Edge said that he saw fear in Moxley because he knows that he's sicker than Moxley. And then Edge has, I keep calling him Edge. I mean, you don't call him Edge until he dies, okay? I want Edge on his tombstone at this point. Because whatever he's doing in his own brain ain't working out. In any event, they decided to have Edge confront the Learning Tree. So the Learning Tree is cutting a bullshit promo about Jericho not coming to North Carolina, which, okay, fine. And then they decide to confront Rated FTR for no apparent reason, just cause. Then, I forgot what Brian Keith said to Edge, that Edge says, oh, did Jericho tell you that in your little earpiece there? And I'm like, did you see the size of this guy's gauges? You can't put nothing in there. You can probably put a basketball through his ears, but you can't put like an iPod in there right there. Like, how is he getting, anyway, whatever. And then he looked at Big Bill and said he had a stupid face. And I guess that was, the joke was that they look alike, because they do. Big Bill looks like Edge after he takes one of those Mario mushrooms, okay? So, maybe that was the joke. You have a stupid face. Because they have the same face. And some people laughed at that, and I was like, oh. Every time Edge goes out there and does something cringe, it's like minus -0.5 on his legacy. Every time he goes out there and he's cringe. Whatever. I was never a big Edge guy, but this ain't good. Anyway, main event was the Death Riders versus Rated FTR, which is FTR and Rated R Cope. Rated R Cope. COPE. That's what he's going by now. He's not going by Adam Copeland. He's going by Cope. I mean, I'm not sure what he's got going on. I don't know what kind of conversations are being had. I don't know what this is supposed to be. Cool, interesting, different. No, Cope ain't it. Cope is not it. That doesn't work. We're not going to use Cope. In 3 count commentaries, Cope is not a thing. All right? We're not calling this man Cope. Cope has a very significant meaning, which, to be quite honest, it might fit what he's doing. He's definitely in the middle of coping. But we cannot call the man Cope. The man is Edge. All right? You're Edge. All right? Rated R Cope is dumb. I didn't watch this match. Didn't care about this match. Wheeler Yuta was in the match to get pinned. That's what happened. Jay White attacked Wheeler Yuta. Left Wheeler Yuta by himself. He got beat. So there's that. But this was a terrible main event on a terrible show. I mean, have mercy, Jesus. Let us continue. The Acclaimed were defeated by the Hurt Business. Max Caster did not rap. They had a cutaway promo, which I actually liked, where Bowens asked Max Caster if he attacked him on purpose, to which Max Caster says no, that he said he was focused. He said he's not going to rap. He don't want any scissoring. He wants to beat the Hurt Business. We don't call him the Hurt Business. We may call him the Hurt Syndicate by accident sometimes, but we call him the Hurt Business here. All right? Or the Hurt Organization. Or Hurt Incorporated. In any event, they beat the shit out of the Acclaimed. Well, to be fair, they beat the shit out of Max Caster. Because Anthony Bowens left him. And just let him get beat up. Here's the issue. I'm not sure which one of these guys I'm supposed to dislike. Because Anthony Bowens just walked off on Max Caster and let him get beat up. Look, Max Caster is annoying, sure. But he's always been annoying. Why now all of a sudden it's a problem that he's annoying? Look, the Acclaimed are clearly about to break up. Who cares? It was a team that AEW put together. So it's not like they're probably real best friends or anything like that. This thing has gone on long enough. I've already given my diatribe that Max Caster needs to grow as a performer. He needs to get away from this Acclaimed thing. It seems to me like they're probably more interested in Bowens as a singles act. Doesn't matter. I don't think it matters at all, to be quite honest. I don't think either one of them got much juice as a singles act. But it's over as a tag team. I don't think anybody even likes the Acclaimed anymore. If we're just being fair, I don't think anybody cares. I think they just reached their natural end. They aren't the only ones. We're going to talk about somebody else who maybe 2 or 3 more people who have reached their natural end in AEW as well. But you'll get to another one right now. Jamie Hayter was defeated by Julia Hart after Julia Hart spit mist in her face. Jamie Hayter was essentially dominant the entire match. Now, Julia Hart did cheat. She went and got an arrow, and the referee took the arrow away while the ref's back was turned. She spit mist into Jamie Hayter's face, and then pinned. She didn't do a move to her. She just spit in her face and then kind of pinned her. Julia Hart, this was her return match, and she looked very much like a young lady from NXT, because you can see her basically obviously cooperating. You could see the obvious synchronization in their offense. It was pretty obvious that she was going from point A to point B. Like if you was doing one of those connect the dots thing as a kid, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4. That's how she was doing. I hate when I see that. And I really only see it in NXT and in these really young female wrestlers. You don't see it a lot in the young men, but you see it a hell of a lot in the young women. And Julia Hart is one of the young women. She was not like this before. But in this match, she was very much like, let Jamie Hayter walk me through the match. And that's kind of how it was. It was unfortunate. This match was not good. Jamie Hayter. A lot of the AEW fans are starting to say, who did Jamie Hayter piss off? It's like, well, you already know the answer to that. Didn't she get into some backstage drama with the dentist right before she got injured? And then she lost the belt and she's been tossed to the wayside. She's not the fun new toy anymore, which is the big problem with AEW, is that everybody's a fun new toy. And then when you're not the fun new toy anymore, they put you on the back burner. I'm not too upset about Jamie Hayter losing this match because Julia Hart was getting pushed. She was a TBS champion for a while and she was getting pushed for a while. And then she got injured and had to lose the belt. So these are two pushed wrestlers. This is not, somebody who is not being pushed, beating Jamie Hayter. But the lack of focus on Jamie has been very disappointing. I'm not a big Jamie Hayter booster. But you would think that for continuity's sake, Jamie Hayter would be able to get in there and hang with the top dogs. But instead, she's losing the mid-card girls. Interesting. Anyway, Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher, they showed a vignette. They also showed a vignette for Omega and Okada. Omega is set to return either next week or in 2 weeks. I forget which one. And then Okada says that 2024 was the year of the Rainmaker. He wants Omega out of his business. Beach. So we went through a 7-week tournament or something like that just so we can get to Omega and Okada. And Okada doesn't even show up on this show. And he just called Omega a bitch and told him to stay out of his business. And that's that. That's what we spent all of our time on. We invested all of that time in this tournament just so Okada can call Omega. Let's move on. Mercedes came out, called herself the GOAT TBS champion, has a video of her year in 2024, which included highlighting the rankings of her matches in Sports Illustrated or ESPN or whatever. Then says she wants to wrestle Mina Sirikawa at Wrestle Dynasty, and she's going to challenge her for the prestigious and honorable, most noble Rev Pro women's title. So now she wants to be Mercedes 3 belts. Which, why not? Why not? Why not treat Mercedes like she's the female Kenny Omega? Because, when you have envy in your heart, which we know Mercedes does, when, she probably sees herself like, I'm just good as Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega had 3 belts. I could have 3 belts. So, why not? And it'd probably be a big deal for the people of England to have somebody to go over there and tell you how bad your food is and how much you guys stink and how she doesn't want anything to do in England on a shoot level that she does over here in the Americas, which is great. At least she's consistent, her dislike of white culture, I guess you could say. It's going to be pretty funny. In any event, it's I guess there's a way to try to make that match interesting. But both of these women are signed to AEW. And Mina, well, at least I think Mina is. She should be. She wrestled on this show a bunch of times. But it doesn't really matter, really. It was a waste of TV time. Mercedes could have did this in a backstage segment and not really done that in the ring, but whatever. Undisputed Era is all together. Nobody gives a shit. They had a triple threat match on this show for the number 1 spot in the Casino Gauntlet match. Roderick Strong, Jay White, Swerve Strickland. Now, each person in this match wants to win because there's a limited number of spots in the Casino Gauntlet. If you become number 1, you're guaranteed a spot. This is also one of those goofy matches that can end before all of the people come in. So, Ricochet shows up at the barricade with some golden scissors and stabbed Swerve Strickland right in the head, which of course caused a lot of blood. Now, the thing that I found humorous about this As the match continued, where Jay White defeated Roderick Strong with the Blade Runner, so he won the match. But Ricochet was just standing there like an NPC in a video game at the barricade. I swear to God, all you got to do is, next time you see this clip, just look at Ricochet. He's just standing there with the scissors in his hand, like an NPC in Zelda or something, just standing there with the scissors in his hand. And then as soon as the match was over, he starts to move again. It was like, wait, what? What's happening? So he continued to attack Swerve after the match, headbutting him, stabbing him with the scissors again, beat him to death, just beat the shit out of him. Nobody tried to stop this. And he got blood all over his nice little suit, with the glasses on. He looks like Kevin from Sin City. I don't know if you guys watch Sin City. You should. You should have read the comic, actually. Read the comic about Sin City. It's one of my favorite works. All right. But there's this this kid, Kevin. He's like a cannibal or something like that. He's kind of like a twisted version of Harry Potter, but he's kind of psycho or whatever. Ricochet gave me those vibes as he was stabbing this guy in his head with these glasses on and everything. So it was clearly a great angle. You cannot deny how awesome this angle was. Fantastic angle between Ricochet and Swerve Strickland. Very much needed to solidify the change in Ricochet's character. Still could have done this with Ricochet losing in the finals, but Ricochet getting his revenge after being mocked by Swerve Strickland. This was excellent. This was what we needed from Ricochet. He needed a change. Now, when I say a change, however, I don't want to see any 630s in his next match. I don't want to see any handsprings in the next match. When Ricochet wrestles, I do not want him to jump off anything. I don't want to see these Power Rangers WMAC Masters fight scenes that he loves to do. I don't want to see none of that. I want to see gritty fighting from Ricochet. I want you to show me something different. This is a completely different character. Guys who walk around stabbing people with scissors are not gymnasts. All right? When you look as crazy as that guy did, that your new style should fit that look. That's what I want. If you come out there and you start doing handsprings, I'm going to throw all this shit in the garbage. I'm going to just say you have no concept of psychology. You should be vicious. All right? This Ricochet that we saw here is the Ricochet I would like to see you grow that Ricochet. I don't want you to double back and say, I can stab you with scissors, but I can also do a cartwheel. No. We've seen you do 100 cartwheels. We've seen you do 100 630s. Let's see you do something else. Let's see you work a professional main event style match. You could take as many bumps as you like, because I know he likes to take bumps, but I don't want to see any 630s. I don't want to see any shooting star presses. And I know he's going to do them. I just know it. But I don't want to see that. This feud does not need that. These guys should be fighting at this point. All right? Both of these guys should be, laying the leather in, doing some really stiff work, not jumping off stuff. All right, Mariah May cut a promo, said she was told not to complain about the women's division. So she's not going to, but said that the division has been great because of her. She's had more matches than anybody. And time for the women to prove themselves to her, and that she is the woman from hell. And she's very forgotten. Like, I keep forgetting that she's the women's champion. Because, her booking has been abysmal since she got this thing. So, I'm guessing they're about to build up to something with the women, so that they could, probably a tournament or something, so that they can get the contender for Mariah May. Now, they built up this huge dramatic thing with Jeff Jarrett, which we're going to talk about here. It was Jeff Jarrett's going to retire. He brought his boots to the ring. It's a guitar in the ring. He ran down his family history from his grandma selling tickets to ended up being one of the promoters to his dad being a promoter for 40 years, to Jeff himself starting TNA, which he was not allowed to name, which should have told you right there it was an angle, because he didn't say TNA's name, which is odd because usually Tony Khan is all about, and so are the fans, we acknowledge the past over here. Oh yeah, why couldn't he say TNA when he said he started his own company in 2002? We knew it was TNA, but he wasn't allowed to say TNA, right? Anyway, he said he's not riding off into the sunset. In fact, he signed a new contract. And I just stood up literally. Because I knew it was a swerve. But I stood up because this is stupid. And then secondly, I just screamed at the TV, he's 60. Jeff Jarrett is 57 years old. Why are you signing him to contracts? He's 57 years old. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? I thought it was going to be Jarrett was going to get jumped by somebody. I thought it was going to be a retirement tour or something like that. He's talking about being the world champion. I'm like, what is this? Why are we spending time on this? Nobody in their right mind believes Jeff Jarrett is ever going to be the AEW world champion. Nobody in their right mind believes that Jeff Jarrett is going to be the AEW world champion. He will never be the AEW world champion. Why did you waste time on this? Time is valuable, bro. Time is valuable. And you spent time trying to have Jeff Jarrett come out here and cut this emotional, convincing promo about how he wants to be the AEW world champion. Bro, get real. Jeff Jarrett is 60 years old. It's over for him. He's shot. The last Outlaw was a cool gimmick. It's fine. It's fun. It's very... You can bring him in to do, shots every once in a while. You need somebody to fill in. Kind of like Dustin. We need somebody to help one of the young guys. You could use Jeff for that. But talking like this is one last run for Jeff Jarrett, get real. Kick rocks. They had Hookcutor promo. And I don't know where in New York he was supposed to be. But he looked like he was in Gotham. Or, Demon City, Shinjuku. Because that didn't look like New York. At all. And he's sitting there on the stoop. Because that's what you do in New York. You sit on the stoop. This... Enough's enough. We're done here. He wants to fight Christian. Whatever. That's... Okay, fine. Whatever you say, boss. Moving on. Powerhouse Hobbs beat up two jabronis. I don't see where this is going. And then we got MJF. Now, MJF, we're going to spend some time here with MJF. Because after the pay-per-view, there was a substantial movement of various people saying that MJF has peaked in AEW and it's time for him to go. That was... he just re-signed like a couple of months ago, right? So he ain't leaving no time soon. He probably signed one of those 365-year deals. So he's likely locked in for forever. But a lot of the AEW fans, they've had enough of old Max, okay? Again, this guy's only like 28 or something. So, and they're tired of him already. Max cuts this promo. He's covered in blood, mocking that Adam Cole lost. Said that this chapter is finally closed. There was a smattering of applause when he says this chapter is finally closed. People started to applaud. And I did the same thing. I was like, phew, finally. So he says it's time for retribution. Time to get back something he never lost. Says he's going to win back his championship. Says that his championship is being carried around in a briefcase. Said that Moxley can turn this company inside out. He could burn the company to the ground, but he just wants his title back. Of course, I like one thing about all of this. I like that, guys like Moxley and Swerve and all these guys are now, reoriented towards being world champion. I do like that. That's useful. That's good storytelling. That's what these guys are supposed to be doing. They don't have personal feuds, So they want to be world champion. And then, of course, the personal feuds will, of course, take them off track. Because, they're not going to have everybody fight Moxley at once. But you're resetting the company. Some of these feuds have ended. So now you're like, okay, let's take these guys and now orient them. So now you have Swerve, who wanted to be the world champion. Except for now, Ricochet is in the way. Hangman Page wanted to be the world champion. Now I guess this thing with him and Christopher Daniels, whatever, is in the way. But now you got probably going to have to do something to jump in the way of MJF. But the AEW fans, they don't like MJF too much no more. They think he's peaked. I think he needs to do something else. I definitely don't think he can leave. Like, that's out of the question right now. But I do think that there's always room for growth, and he has a lot of time off. MJF he's basically part-time at this point. Outside of maybe 4 times in the last 3 months, he doesn't even really appear on the television show that often. So he's got plenty of time to sit down and come up with something new to present to the audience. And I think that's part of the problem. Because AEW is not character focused, guys don't ever feel the need to change the character. I said this about Max Caster. Only the WWE guys are really investing in changing their characters. Ricochet, Moxley, Jericho, Cope. These guys are putting effort into changing their characters. Guys who've been in AEW since the beginning are still the same guys they've been since they were in AEW in the beginning. Caster, for instance. MJF, for instance. Orange Cassidy, for instance. Most of these guys are not trying to evolve. They like, hey, I got the bag, I'm chilling. I don't need to go out and do anything else. I don't need to go out and grow. And that's the wrong way to think. He should be looking at this thing saying, I already got the bag. Now I can take risks. Now I can try different things. And I guess it's Tony Khan's fault for never, ever talking about character work with these guys. He always talks about the in-ring stuff. He always talks about the great matches that they have and never talk about, the big selling points of these guys. Fresh presentation of the talent. It's pretty stupid, if you ask me, to not get these guys an opportunity to change things up after a little while. Look, MJF was wildly successful. I get that you don't want to change anything that was successful. I definitely understand that. But you also have to realize when things get cold. You also got to realize when things have sort of... Sometimes you do have to end things early. A lot of people talked about the Shield, for instance. They say, the Shield still has some time left in it before, they got rid of it. But killing the Shield when they did left people wanting more, and it was a bigger heat magnet than if it had overstayed its welcome. Right? MJF at this point has overstayed his welcome. People were so into the babyface thing because it was unique. Because it was a different take on the same character. But now you can't even do that anymore. You've ruined the babyface part. He's got to grow and do something else. But here's the problem with that. I'm not sure he can do anything else. MJF has been wrestling for longer than people think. It's been longer than 5 years, probably been closer to 10. And he was the same exact gimmick in MLW. So I've been looking at this same gimmick for a long time. I've enjoyed the way that he stretched it and how he worked it against Cody, against Punk, and some other guys that he's really worked with and got in. I've enjoyed that. But now I think it's time for him to grow this pie a little bit. I'm not sure what that means because I don't know all the facets of his personality or whatever else that he likes. But sort of being the loud, braggadocious, edgy boy, we've had enough. And I may have called this out sooner, but we're talking about it right now because I sometimes forget even things that I've said a long time ago. But you got to realize when a character is run dry. And I think the MJF gimmick has run dry. And there's quite a few, like I said, there's quite a few guys on here. I think that the gimmick is over. Hook is another one. We're done with Hook. Whatever he was supposed to be, all this tough talk New York shit, bye-bye. It's time to do something else. I was glad to see Jamie Hayter changed it up. She didn't really have a character before. Now she's kind of doing that 70s girl. It's weird. I don't understand it, but at least it's better than generic muscle girl, which she was doing before. This is the positive about people like Mercedes being there. Because she's got to be telling people to do something else. Unless she just sits in her hotel room or her dressing room and doesn't interact with anybody, I would imagine she's got to be telling these people, like, you got Jericho. Somebody's got to be telling folks, look, you've been on TV with the same gimmick for 4 or 5 years. People are going to get tired of that. You got to do something else. You got to be different. Even Hangman Page, he might be the only guy from mainline AEW, meaning has been on the roster for a while, that has significantly changed his presentation. And he didn't start doing that until the Young Bucks did it too. So I guess you could say both of them did. But so many of the other talent are not changing their presentation. It is making the show feel stale. You just feel like there's a bunch of old characters sitting around doing anything. And even if the guys aren't old, then you got guys like Jay White who were in Japan, and he's not doing anything different for AEW. Okada, same thing. So it's like you're seeing these guys are stuck in amber. These characters aren't growing. They're going through challenges, but the challenges they're not forcing growth. That's what challenges are supposed to do. They're supposed to force you to grow. We're not seeing any growth on AEW, which is why the Ricochet thing sticks so hard. Because finally, we're seeing Ricochet go through something. And we're seeing him stretch the Ricochet character instead of going from being goofy to now he's a psycho killer. And there's a reason for it. He had a very, very humiliating situation on Sunday. I could see how you would snap after that. That's good. That's a good inciting incident for him stabbing people with scissors. It wasn't wild and out of nowhere. It was a slow and steady progression from him being unappreciated and being bullied to enough of that shit. I'm stabbing niggas now. And there it is. It's like, okay. If somebody bullied you in front of, 1,500 people, I'll stab them too. Maybe. It's a bit of a logic jump to go from being goofy and dorky to being, scissor murderer, but okay, I'll take it. It's pro wrestling. Just turn everything up to 11. I just don't want to see any flips. There's so many people on this show that would be so much better if they actually stopped and changed things about their character. Try to do something to freshen up. Not just baby faces and heel turns. I'm talking take some real chances on changing your character. Because I don't see no changes. And there needs to be significant amounts more change than I'm seeing on this show. But the Ricochet thing was a good start.